Hey, what's up, everybody? Today we are talking about a few different things that Lenny and I are interested in. One is going to be treasury companies. Why would you buy a treasury company versus cold storage Bitcoin? We're also going to talk about the Genius Act. And as always, let's talk about that price. What is happening? All that on this Hard Knock Crypto. Hey, man, how are you today? Looks like you are staying in a beautiful hotel.
Oh, 5-star all the way. It's how I
Amazing.
roll. Yeah.
Did you hey,
So
when you get into a hotel room, what's the first thing you do?
the first thing I do, check out the bathroom
Do you?
for sure. Yeah.
Oh.
You know why? Because I hate tubs. I just, I don't know
You're a shower
why. I
man?
always, not only am I, there's a couple of things that I do like, but yes, I'm a shower man because I always think maybe I'm getting to the age where I'm worried about slipping and falling out of a bathtub or drowning. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
but not like I'm a bath person, but yeah, I always check out the bathroom.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and then why? What do you do?
I come in and I gauge the room and I think am I getting ripped off or am I getting my money's worth? And I can decide that within about 4 seconds. And so that's kind of is this like a 2-star deal? Like, is this a Super 8? Is this a 4-star? Is this a 5-star that's pretending to be a 5-star, but it really is like a 3.5? That's kind of my gauge. And I know within about 4 seconds.
Well, I think like you're in the UAE,
Right.
and you when you walk into a 5-star, you know a 5-star
That's true.
because they're like next level.
I would say even like the UAE 4-stars are like 5.5 in the States. Like the States have a really low bar for hotels.
Right.
Whenever I walk into the States and nobody's like bringing my bags in, I'm like, what kind of dump is this? Like nobody's helping me at my car. Do you know what I mean? But for
Yeah.
like a hotel to do that in the States, it has to be so nice, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
like your Holiday Inns, you're like just nobody's doing that. There's like a kid at the front desk or some lady that's like 75 that's just trying to pay her mortgage that's like running the front desk, and it's just
Oh my gosh, that's like did you, are you staying in this hotel? Like how
I
did
just know it. And I'm so spoiled because I live in the UAE and it's like, oh, yeah, of course you're going to get my bag. And I just am really confused when somebody doesn't lead me to my room. Like, what if I get lost? I don't know what floor I'm on.
Oh, yeah, and like yesterday morning, I was like, "Oh, breakfast. Let me go down for breakfast," because it was
Yeah,
like pumped up, like, "Oh,
sure.
breakfast is served from 6 to 10." I was like, "Awesome, let me go down there,"
Right.
and I was like, "This is great. Oatmeal, um, and bagels." And being from New York, I was like,
Not
"These are
eating that.
definitely not bagels. They look like
Yeah.
bagels, you
Mm,
know." And then you get those sausage patties, and I think that's like powdered eggs. I don't
yeah.
know. Is
Oh,
it real? I'm not exactly
disgusting.
sure.
So I was just
Yeah.
on a business trip in Oman, and it's like, oh yeah, we have breakfast. And in the Middle East, UAE, everywhere, Oman, it's like 5-star. There's like 80 different things to eat. People are running back and forth, and it's just a different level. America struggles with that.
Yeah. I think because we're really quick. Like we need to just be in and out. It's a place to
Boom.
stay.
Holiday Inn Express. Give me a muffin in a package. I'm good.
Right. I'm good. Right. I
Yeah,
think so.
that's
Yeah.
us.
Yesterday I had a black coffee and in a paper cup. And I
Yeah.
said, I think as long as I'm in this hotel, I'm going to be fasting. All right.
I'm
Like I
sure
don't,
everybody is just dying to hear what else we believe about hotels, but
oh my gosh.
maybe
Yes.
not.
Right. We could do a whole
Ah,
podcast on that.
I love it. Let's start a hotel podcast. I would
I
actually
love
listen to
it.
that. Be super
Oh my
interesting.
gosh.
What about Bitcoin though? What's Bitcoin doing these days? I think we're popping around like we seem to be popping between 102 and 104. Do you have any thoughts on price action these days?
I just think that we went through a season of everybody was worried about the market. oh my gosh, these tariffs.
Yeah,
And I think we were just in a really volatile period.
totally.
And you know, the markets are going to the same way the stock market. Everybody was worried about the stock market. I think there was a really a great deal of uncertainty. So we just went through that period, and now all of a sudden, right, we've gotten through that period. We don't really hear about it
Right.
as much, and you're starting to see things bounce back. And
Yeah.
um, I honestly don't imagine. I read somewhere this is like 8 days or in a row or something like that. That Bitcoin has been over 100K.
Yeah.
Is it ever going south of that? I don't think so.
You don't think so
I don't
ever?
think so.
It's not gonna dip. This is it.
Well, yeah, ever is a long time, isn't it? Hmm.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah,
Especially this
ever
is
is a
like the
long
eighth
time.
time it's gone up above 100, and so it's
Right.
dropped below that.
All right, maybe
But
I
there
take
are
that back.
these there's those levels though. It's like I remember when it was bouncing and it bounced above 10,000, then it bounced down and then it like and then there was like 50. And then remember 70? 70 was
Right.
cuz it's a new all-time high. Boom. It's never and it's these resistant levels, but I mean, I would be shocked if it's ever like at this point I'd be shocked if it was ever below 50 again. But for
Well,
it for it to break 100 down. But at some point, we'll be like, could you imagine if it was ever below 100 again? And that'll be like in 3-4 years. And it'll be like, wow, I can imagine.
it'll be like when you were just talking about that, and I said, "Oh man, I remember when it was 5,000,
Yeah.
right?" And I was like, "Man, 5,000? I'm not dropping 5,000 on that. What is that thing?
$5,000? Good grief.
Really?
What are
You
we
know,
talking?
why would I do something stupid like that?"
Right.
Boy,
Exactly.
wow, really? Anyway, for anybody who did, they weren't so stupid, or were
They
they?
weren't stupid.
Uh, yeah, so don't be stupid is
Mm.
the moral of that story. Anyway,
Yes.
yeah, I don't think it's coming. I listen. I don't think that it's going to drop to 50. I don't think it's going to drop again. I don't 70.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Who knows?
That's me. I don't think so. Yeah, who knows? But
It's actually
it's
amazing. Just to drop it in, did you know who Dave Ramsey is, right? Dave Ramsey,
uh,
financial
of
peace guy.
I do. I do.
Okay, so I just saw on X video making the rounds that Dave Ramsey was talking about Bitcoin. I think it was back in 2015, and I think it was $500, and he's like railing on people how stupid they are putting their money in magic internet money, and Bitcoin is hey, he's like you idiots are gonna lose all your money. Good luck. Um, it's a little bit different now. And I remember growing up, my dad was a big Dave Ramsey guy, and Dave's great teaching people how to get out of debt. It's awesome. But I still remember like end of high school listening to him, like my dad would be listening to him in the car and he'd be like, yeah, you idiots that are buying gold too. Like, how dumb is that? It's just a rock. Well, gold's appreciation since then has been astronomical. And so I think it's good to show that people have a corner on what they know, but they don't know everything. And so
Right.
it's a good life lesson to be like, hey, there's a lot of really smart people. But then you get like your Berkshire Hathaway guys, Buffett, and all those guys that were like, yep, Bitcoin's rat poison. Don't buy it. Those guys are really smart, but they don't know everything.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. I think it just proves out there's no one way,
Right.
right? I think we just have to understand because people get tied up on this is the way that person does it. This is the only way. This is the
Yeah.
way I'm going to do it. But, as we talk about diversity when it comes to your investment portfolio, don't only think about, I'm going to look at 10 different stocks and just look into this one area investment. There's so many different ways to build wealth,
Yeah.
right? Generational wealth. Look, Berkshire Hathaway, perfect example,
Mm-hmm.
right? Talk to Dave, you just mentioned Dave Ramsey, perfect
Right.
example. Well, there's a guy named Michael Saylor, MicroStrategies, right? And strategy, the company's now.
Yeah.
That is another way. He has,
Right.
in essence, he is. pioneering a new way of building generational wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, there's space for looking backwards and saying, "Hey, that I know that works," but
Yeah.
there's also a way to look forward and say, "Here's a new asset class. Here's something new that's happening in the world." Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in the '90s, it was the internet. Well, there's something new that's happening, and there are pioneers that
Yeah.
are doing stuff that, from with at least with our podcast and other podcasts, we're talking about this new space, and hey, pay attention to it. So yeah, I love it. I love new things.
But
Yeah.
I think it's a good lesson too, especially in 2025 when we feel like we need an opinion on everything. Uh, and everybody has to like quickly know either yes or no, yes or no. Like at some point, like if Dave Ramsey or Buffett, if they would have said, "Yeah, I don't really know what that is. I should
Right.
probably look into that." Like that's probably the safest way instead of you being like, "Yeah, I'm totally against this," or "I'm totally for this," or "Hey, what's your opinion on war number X?" Like you don't have to know right away. Be like, "Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea." Be like somebody asking me about New York real estate right now and if they should buy or sell, I'd be like, I have no idea. You tell me. Like
Yeah.
let's sit with ChatGPT for a little bit and ask that, and then ask some people that actually know. I have no idea.
Right.
So
Isn't it great? Yeah, I
yeah,
feel like it's almost freeing, right, to be able to say, you know what, I don't know about it. I
right.
actually don't have an opinion on it.
And I think we need to do that way more, way more.
Way more. Okay,
But
that's
talking about
hysterical.
that, like
Right.
Microstrategy, Saylor is pioneering basically what we've talked about before. And Berkshire Hathaway is worth so much because they buy and hold assets. And that's Buffett, like 50, 60 years ago, turned this company that used to be for one thing, and then he turned it into a conglomerate that just holds assets and they've appreciated in value. And so Saylor is doing the same thing, but he's doing it with a Bitcoin treasury of over 500,000 Bitcoin now. And he's taken out
Right.
debt and he's made more shares and he's purchased with that. And it's really interesting that he has the model of this Bitcoin treasury company. And now there's other companies that are basically copycatting that. And so Jack Mahler's with his new 21 Capital is doing the same thing. They're connected with Tether. They just bought 7,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And there's another guy named David Bailey that runs the Bitcoin conferences. He's in charge of all that. He has Bitcoin Magazine, but he's doing a Bitcoin treasury company called Nakamoto, and they're doing the same thing. And it's fascinating to see, like, and we've talked about it 100 times, but it's this run on Bitcoin, and now it's not just individuals, but now it's businesses that are even not just putting on their balance sheet, but their entire business model is, yeah, we're buying Bitcoin and that's all we're doing, and we're holding, and you should buy our stock. What do you think about that?
I think it's great, right? And I
Okay.
think so. We've talked about this in the past. We've talked about how countries are doing. I mean, the most famous, I think, at this point is like El Salvador, right? That's
Right.
gone
Totally.
complete Bitcoin, right? Um, I don't know how often see some sort of news story or a mention about the United States needing to do that
Yeah.
and how that's important. You are in the UAE. That's super Bitcoin friendly,
Yeah, Abu
right?
Dhabi has put it like publicly. I'm not sure the exact amount, but something like half a billion or $1 billion just in their strategic reserve for Bitcoin.
Right. And I think we talked, I think a couple episodes ago, I went through the list, right,
Mm-hmm.
of GDP, the list, right? And
Yeah.
uh, the first time iteration in our discussion was what countries have the largest like GDP, and then it ranked. And then
Right.
we added companies into it. And, then we came up with BlackRock and Fidelity and like all these other companies that were who are from an investment perspective. and now you're seeing, Strategy and other Microstrategy, Michael Saylor's, um, that's their business model. Um, we I have a list here. The number 5 largest corporate holder of Bitcoin. You want to take a guess? Number 5.
Well, let's walk through the numbers. Number 1 would be Strategy, which
Yes,
is Saylor's company. Number 2, I think there's a few mining companies that are up there. I think Galaxy Digital, which is Mike Novogratz company, is up there.
that's number 9. Man, you're good
Yeah,
at this. Number 9.
I
Man, I'm
know.
gonna just do lists
I
with you all the
I do
time.
I do way too many podcasts and looking up stuff. But I think I mean Tesla's up there, but they don't talk about it a lot. They did a few years ago.
Tesla's number 5,
Okay.
right? And they have over 11,000 Bitcoin,
Wow.
right, as part of their treasury
Yeah.
strategy.
Yeah.
But so just quickly, you were spot on. The top 5, number 1 is Strategy,
Mhm.
MicroStrategies. The next 3 are all companies that do Bitcoin mining
Okay.
as part of their business.
Right.
Marathon is number 2, Marathon Digital
Yeah.
Holdings. Number 3 is Riot Platforms, and number 4 is CleanSpark. All 3 of those, they do Bitcoin mining, and number 5 is Tesla,
Yeah.
right? And there's this real push. So we know that from countries are doing it and thinking about it, adding Bitcoin to their strategic reserve. We know that now this is becoming a corporate strategy. You and I have talked about it also
Right.
regarding, someday from even our company perspective, what do we want to do,
Sure.
right? Um, and then what I just read, I think Florida, they have their state pension,
Yeah.
and I believe moved some of theirs into they purchased Strategy, right? So MicroStrategy, they bought uh, Strategy shares, and that's part of their investment portfolio for their
Okay.
pension.
Okay.
That was Florida. So states are now starting to look at it and say, well, how can we invest and become more diverse in our investment strategies? And
Right.
how do we include Bitcoin as part of it?
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so big moves happening.
It is crazy. I mean, and if you look at it from that strategic reserve, nationwide, we're implementing that. States are doing that. New Hampshire's just passed their first strategic reserve. Arizona did as well. And so obviously, yeah, it's all happening. I think my question when this is obviously, and we've talked about it so many times, but this is obviously going to appreciate in value because of fixed supply and all the things that go into it. But why would you buy, say, MicroStrategy versus holding Bitcoin itself in a cold wallet? Why would you do that?
Well, I personally
Yeah,
would
personally,
not
what would you do?
necessarily.
Would you do that?
No, I think I'm more of a traditionalist, right? Like
Okay.
I would rather hold my own Bitcoin. I mean, it
Okay.
goes back to, I think, the reason for Bitcoin, right? And I think a lot of it is built around freedoms. I think it's built around security, personal security. I think taking it out of the corporate and government uh, space where they have control over it, of what
Mm-hmm.
happens to it, right? So that's just me personally. But I do see where there's value for those who say, "Listen, I don't want to have to worry about it. I don't want to have to think about it, but I still want to be able to invest in it, right?" And
Right.
that's where the ETFs become really valuable for people to invest in,
Yeah.
right? And especially, it's a great bridge if you're
Totally.
someone like I don't know anything about it. I don't want to spend a ton of time on it,
Yeah.
but I do want to take advantage of the appreciation of this asset class. So you know what? The easiest way for me to jump in, I'll go and I'll buy, through Fidelity. I'll buy the
Right.
ETF, Bitcoin
Right.
ETF. At the same time, I think, and this is part of the strategy. MicroStrategy's strategy, right? That they are making it available for people to invest in. It is for many people, it'll be a safer option.
Right.
And they I think, man, they have some has had they've had some crazy return right now, right? I think it's, is it 15% or maybe 20%? I don't know what that number's at. I don't know if
From
you have
when?
that in front of you.
From
For
when?
strategy, if you invested in strategies for the last
I mean, at what point?
even let's say the last 12 months, what does it
Oh,
look
I
like?
think in the
Yeah.
last 12 months, MicroStrategy is up like 100% versus Bitcoin, which is like at 60, which is crazy.
Okay, so there, which is, yeah. I mean, I'm way below,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
what they're at. But imagine you were someone
Yeah.
who invested in strategy.
Right.
And you
Doing
know
great.
what? It's affordable, right?
Yeah.
If you were like,
Sure.
hey, I want to get to, I mean, really, if you want to get to one Bitcoin, it's going to cost you $103,000 today.
Yeah.
But if you have some money, now I would say I'd rather put $500 into buying actual Bitcoin,
Sure.
right,
But I
than
mean, when you talk
$500.
about affordable, like we're talking, humans love round numbers, right? We just love, like, I want to get to
Right.
one. I want to get to
Right.
like 10 shares of strategy, 100 shares of strategy, whatever it is. But we do. It's the same. Freaking Dave Portnoy was on the internet again yesterday saying, hey, XRP is the next Bitcoin. I think it's the next Bitcoin. And he says Bitcoin's way too expensive. XRP, he goes, it's like $2.40. Yeah, so buy that. And again, like,
Yeah.
it's, we don't understand market caps, we don't understand purposes. It's all the, just because somebody is famous and is on the internet doesn't mean they have a clue what they're talking about. So just be careful, do your own research,
Yeah.
and don't listen to guys that have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, listen, if who is it? If Kylie Jenner is going to tell me to go buy XRP, I'm probably not going to listen to her. And listen, I love Dave Portnoy, but to me, he and Kylie Jenner are the same when it comes to
Yeah,
talking about crypto.
just no
Like
idea.
I don't really, but he's great. I love his pizza stuff that he does.
Right.
Totally
He's
love.
got the market on pizza, not on crypto
Yeah,
and Bitcoin, but
yeah, the one slice pizza. What's the best?
yeah.
But you know what I don't like? I hate the fact that he never actually tells you where it's located
I
exactly.
mean, I've seen where he does, and then it's like a huge influx and people hitting their pizza
Really, I
joints.
just feel
So,
like I got to search it a little bit too much. You know what I mean? Like it should just
sure,
be
sure.
somewhere from. Anyway, that's a side note. Um, but here's the other. Okay, and if we just want to talk about strategy
Yeah,
and we want to talk about Bitcoin, right?
right.
And if you want to talk about XRP, we can talk about those three really quickly.
Sure.
And you being in the, and we'll just use UAE as an example, right? I can Bitcoin is a great store of value, right? Um, I can also walk into into a car auto dealer and I could buy a car using Bitcoin,
Yeah,
right? So I could transact using Bitcoin.
sure.
I cannot transact using strategy
Right.
shares,
That's good. That's true.
right? Um, and at the same time, XRP, for example,
Hmm.
is not a great store of value,
Right.
right? It has utility, but it's not a great store of value.
Right.
The only asset that is a great store of value and that is also can be used for transacting, and so that means has utility, right? That means that we can use it for something, is Bitcoin, other than gold, right? Yes, sure. There are some places I guess I could walk in with like, you know, an ounce of gold and be like, hey, can I buy something with this? Maybe somebody
Yeah.
will say, okay. But you literally have to carry that in your pocket and
Yeah.
someone has to say, I'm going to accept it, right?
Yeah.
That's generally not the case either,
Right.
right? So the only one is Bitcoin that
Let's talk.
allows you to do all that.
Let's talk really quick because some people might be like, okay, Portnoy said that maybe XRP is the next Bitcoin. Like, maybe he's right. And let's talk about why that's impossible. Just real quick, just running numbers. Okay. So today, Bitcoin is $103,000. And how many Bitcoin will there ever be?
21 million.
21 million. So that gives us a market cap of $2 trillion. Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
just understanding that's the number one, nobody's probably ever going to catch that because of so many things, but just thinking fixed supply. Okay. Today, XRP is doing pretty good, $2.43, but the total supply is 100 billion tokens. Okay.
Correct.
Not
Correct.
21 million, 100 billion. And so the market cap on that XRP is 142 billion. Okay. So I'm not a math genius,
Right.
but maybe if it multiplied by 6.5 ish, which let's say it did a 6 multiplier to get to a trillion, we'd be talking about 250 times 6, 12, $15, about $15 to be at $1 trillion. And then for it to be at 2 trillion to be at like $30 in XRP. So if you're not good at math and you don't understand markets, XRP is never going to hit $100,000 a token because there's not enough money in the world for it to do that. Just so everybody understands, XRP is never hitting $100,000. So for you to YOLO your $5,000 or whatever in XRP and think it's going to hit even $100, like it's just the math doesn't check out. Math is math, and just if we could sit with Dave for maybe a minute and explain that, then he might understand that. But somebody will. I don't think he'll ever figure it out. Michael Saylor went to his house and explained Bitcoin to him, and he still doesn't get it. But anyways, that's a quick market cap and math lesson for you today, brought to you by Hard Knock
Right.
Crypto.
And it's interesting because every time I talk to somebody who has some bit of knowledge about crypto, and they will ask me, if there's one thing that I should invest in, what is it? And I go Bitcoin every
Me too.
day, every night.
Time.
So every time, like there's no second Bitcoin. I just said that to somebody yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Then they turn around. Oftentimes, if they have some amount of knowledge, they will go, well, what about XRP?
Sure.
And they'll say, oh, I own some XRP. What do you think about XRP? And quite honestly, again, I'm somewhat of a traditionalist here, but XRP has utility, does not have store of value, right? It's not a store of value. It is a great bridge between the traditional banking world and the crypto world. That's what it is, right? So let's make no mistake that when the white paper for Bitcoin came out now, which is what, 16 years ago, whatever it is.
Yes.
The reason for that paper was because what was happening with the banking system, right? And the governments. It was like, listen, we need to find something that is we need to have something that is for the common man that sits outside of what these large institutions are doing.
It's not centralized, it's decentralized.
Correct. What does XRP do? It says, hey, you know what? We understand that, but what we're going to do is build a bridge between the two of them.
Sure.
Right? From a traditional perspective, I go, I don't like that. Sure. I don't need to look back, right? This is the reason why it exists. I want to move forward. However, there are those who say, listen, we need a bridge. Great. Yeah. You want to invest in that bridge? Go buy that bridge.
Totally. Yeah.
Right. But that bridge is never going to be Bitcoin.
And the problem with that,
it'll never be the original.
Yeah. The problem with, hey, what about XRP? Hey, what about ADA? Hey, what about Solana? Like, there's use cases, but they are not the store of value that we could walk through Bitcoin being. And so basically, I think most people are saying, hey, like, if I put $5,000 in, could it be 50 grand in a year? Like, it's literally like, do your own research. If you believe in it, buy it, but know why you are, and not just sitting on your Coinbase looking and being like, hey, this one's only 240. I'm going to throw $1,000 at that. and hope. Because what is that called? That's gambling. That's gambling.
Right.
It's fine if you want to gamble, but you're gambling. So just understand that. And with Bitcoin, I'm not gambling. I know where it's going to be now. I know where it's been, and I know where it's going to be in 5, 10, 20 years. But with all these other ones, there's use cases. But if you're just looking at it from that perspective of hoping number go up, you're gambling, and you just need to realize that.
Right. And I would just say then when it doesn't work out, I
Yeah,
would say don't throw it all in the same bucket and say, wow, crypto is such like so risky.
right.
No, maybe rethink your strategy,
Yeah.
rethink of where you put it. Like, back in the day, we would have been like, oh, well, I'm going to put $100 into penny stock, and
Yeah.
uh, right. And in hindsight, in the '80s, I probably should have put it into like IBM.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I would have been okay,
Totally.
right, into a blue chip. So just think about what you're doing, and think about generational, right? If you want to be a day trader, knock yourself out, go buy some XRP, have fun, keep it in your portfolio. Generational wealth, Bitcoin every day. And that's what I tell everybody,
Every day. So
every day. So, okay,
go
I
ahead.
think I got like 5 minutes, right? I want to
Sweet.
touch on this genius act of 2025. I know we were going to touch on it.
It's
So the
great.
Genius Act, GENIUS, man, I had to go and figure out because I can't remember
Yeah.
what that acronym stands for because it's super long,
Okay.
but it stands for the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act of 2025. Oh my gosh, hold on,
They
I'm out of
also
breath.
just like to
Hold
say
on.
genius.
Okay,
So
sorry. Yeah, I do like to say genius. That's just but when it comes to this stuff, nobody in Congress is a genius, right?
what happened, or what was the bill for, and what happened?
Okay, so we know that for let's just say 10 years. Let's say 5 years. Okay, for
Okay.
5 years, we know that everybody's been waiting for the United States to have provide some sort of guidelines framework for how we handle and how the crypto space is regulated, right? Like
Okay.
there's we're just everybody's waiting. Everybody around the world is waiting, let alone the people who live here. We're all waiting,
Right.
and these geniuses can't figure out how to get it done, though they are seeing everybody around the world focused on it. Europe, many countries in Europe are way light years ahead. In South Asia, light years ahead. Where you are in your region,
Yeah.
light years ahead. South America, light years ahead
Right.
of where we are today. But we are the largest economy in the world, right? Just heard, the leadership of the new administration, President Trump's administration, say the United States is the biggest consumer, the biggest market in the world. We buy everything.
Yeah.
But we have no framework or any sort of rules that are in place that help us to be the biggest investor, the biggest adopter, and have engagement in this space, right? So, having said that,
Yeah.
the Genius Act, I think that, I mean, this isn't full on, but this is, a great starting point. It was to provide a framework and some, direction regarding stable coins, right? And so, do you want to quickly talk about stable coins?
Yeah, if you think about it, stable coins, Tether is the biggest one, and it's basically a dollar for dollar backing of, hey, it's this $1 stable coin, this $1 token stable coin, it represents $1. They also have it for like gold and other things, but really is
Correct.
very helpful for like third world countries to be able to hold US dollars, and it's going to be the framework for banking and everything moving forward. So something like this Genius Act is very important.
Right. And so you want to know that when I have one tether, right, one stable coin, and I'm uh, doing some sort of transaction, that it is worth $1. It is
Right.
not some sort of where we that we know over the course of the last 20 years that the the dollar you had 20 years ago is worth less today than it was back then, right? Because
Right.
of inflation and
Yeah.
right. So this is important, right? From a crypto perspective,
Yeah.
right? It is super important. There was a bipartisan. So this Genius Act was a bipartisan bill that was so supported both by Democrats and Republicans. It went through and passed through the smaller committee, got approved, makes it to the Senate floor, doesn't happen,
Yeah.
right? All of a sudden, everybody is concerned about there's not enough wording in there about anti-money laundering and about corruption and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
Everybody all of a sudden, man, I feel so passionate. I think I'm having palpitations.
Oh man.
But it's crazy. Anyway, I'm just kidding.
Open the door, start yelling at people.
I am. When I leave here, I'm going to start yelling at people, right? So all of a sudden, everybody's concerned about this, and believe me, I am political party agnostic when it comes to this because I think they're both a bunch of fools when it comes to this.
Sure.
And they were saying there was not enough in there. They really should have inserted some sort of wording in here and saying and listing all of the people who are in Congress who've made millions of dollars on their $150,000 a year. They've become multi millionaires. And guess where they didn't make it? On crypto,
Right.
right? And so those people are the ones who are like, man, there's got to be something on here about corruption, money laundering.
Yeah.
And their concern is that, President Trump is going to make a lot of money on crypto and he
Sure.
shouldn't be able to. Listen, I agree.
I'm
I
with you.
agree with that.
Totally with you.
100%.
Yep.
President Trump, you shouldn't be making a lot of money on
No.
crypto while you're in office,
Yep.
right? That should not happen.
Right.
Well, guess what? Neither should Elizabeth Warren.
Yep.
Neither should Mitch McConnell.
Mm-hmm.
None of those folks who are in Congress should be making money off of stocks. They shouldn't
Pelosi,
be
who's
making
made
money,
hundreds of millions of dollars off of stocks.
hundreds of millions of
Yeah.
dollars.
Crazy. And
Yeah. All of these people, none of them should be able to do any of that. I agree with it 100%.
Yeah.
And so now they said, no, we're not going to do it because, and they voted against it because they said, there's not enough language in there. Well, yeah. Okay. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But no bill is going to be 100% the first time it goes through. It gives you an opportunity to later on. If we can get to 80%, all of a sudden the world will turn around and be like, finally, the U.S. is leading this discussion, or at least we're in the conversation. So anyway, I thought that it was a terrible thing that happened. And just to add, in response to it, Senator Jeff Merkley from Oregon turned around. He said he introduced the End Crypto Corruption Act.
Okay.
And that seeks to prohibit federal officials and their families from investing in or endorsing digital assets. I said, you know what?
It's great.
Let's hurry up and I'm okay with that. Hurry up and get it done. Right? Stop wasting everybody's time.
Yeah.
And so for everybody, the Genius Act, if you're in crypto, is really important.
Yeah.
Right? And they weren't able to get it done. So anyway, call your senator.
Yeah.
Call your congressman or woman or whoever, and call whoever you got to get this thing through.
It is kind of wild.
Anyway, I'm off my soapbox.
No, it's really good. And if you think about like how Trump has greenlit Doge and going line by line, getting rid of corruption. Yeah, the evening he goes into office, launches his own meme coin, and it's just the whole thing needs to be cleaned up. It's stocks. It's like that macro outlook of all of this stuff. We just need to fix, and hope it gets done. I think we got to wrap it up. Lenny, it's been a good one. I appreciate it. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for taking a half hour with us. We'll see you again.
Later, everyone.
Bye.
Take care, bro.